Imagine this. One single person managed to earn billions of dollars, kept an entire nation living in terror, and even the most powerful governments couldn't stop him for years. Some saw him as a criminal, while others saw him as a hero. But the truth was far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. And today, we are going to tell the story of the most dangerous man the drug world has ever known, Pablo Escobar. In 1949, Pablo Escobar was born in Rio Negro, a Colombian city in the northwest of South America, located near Medellin, Colombia's second-largest city. He was the third of 7 children in a large family. His father was a farmer, and his mother was a teacher, and the family lived in modest circumstances. Escobar used to say that his family's financial situation was no different from many other Colombian families, defined by poverty and suffering in every aspect of life. However, his mother came from a family with a notable history. His maternal grandfather was one of the prominent whiskey smugglers during the era of Prohibition, when it was a banned product. That same grandfather had connections to many prestigious figures in Colombia, most of whom were politicians. One of his female relatives was even the wife of Carlos Restrepo, the president of Colombia in 1910. Nevertheless, you could say that Pablo Escobar belonged to the poor branch of the family. From a young age, Pablo wasn't satisfied with his circumstances. He always felt that the solution lay in making money fast. While he was still in high school, his criminal tendencies began to surface. He and his cousin, Gustavo Gaviria, started out by selling magazines to their classmates. Over time, the two learned the art of forgery, creating fake certificates and selling them to fellow students, which brought in a significant amount of cash. As word spread that they had money, people began coming to them for loans. This is where their usury business took off. Take $1,000, pay back $1,200. For some, they were even more accessible than banks. As time went on, the money in Pablo's hands grew. But more importantly, his mind was sharpening. He developed a high capacity for money management and learned how to stay off the police's radar. He further increased his income through tomb raiding. He and his friends would go to cemeteries, steal tombstones, sand off the names, and resell them as new. There's an important point to note here. Pablo always justified his actions. He claimed he only took tombstones from graves that were no longer visited, arguing that the deceased wouldn't be affected and the families wouldn't notice, so in his mind he wasn't hurting anyone. In 1969, Pablo Escobar finished high school and enrolled in the Faculty of Economics at a Latin American university. However, he had no desire to complete his studies. He was once again consumed by the pursuit of quick profit. He turned his sights toward car theft. We steal the car, dismantle it, and sell it for scrap. If the police come after us, we bribe them to swap the license plate numbers, and everything will be fine. Over time, his reputation in Medellin grew, but through much larger criminal operations. He began kidnapping members of wealthy families, demanding ransoms that could reach $100,000, offering a simple ultimatum: the money or death. This period revealed a new side of his personality, a craving for notoriety and status. In 1971, he kidnapped a businessman named Diego Echeverria Misas and demanded a $50,000 ransom. Even after receiving the money, he decided to kill him, believing that news of the murder would make him more famous in the criminal underworld. This trajectory eventually led him into the cocaine trade. His ambition knew no bounds. He rose rapidly within the smuggling gangs, and his bank balance reached 100 million Colombian pesos, about $3 million at the time. Finally, in 1975, he murdered the head of the gang he had been working for in Medellin, cementing his own power. What proves to us that Pablo Escobar wasn't just chasing money was the fact that he opened the door to becoming the godfather of his own criminal family, becoming one of the biggest drug lords in Colombia at a very young age. His daily profits reached approximately $70 million, which amounts to about $26 billion a year. Imagine that he spent $1,000 a week just on rubber bands to wrap his stacks of cash. There was so much money that they factored in a 10% loss margin because rats would literally eat the bills in the warehouses. This is the man who once burned $2 million in cash just to keep his children warm while they were hiding from the police. In the book, The Accountant's Story, Roberto Escobar, Pablo's brother, writes that what drove his brother into the drug trade was relative safety. At the time, smuggling a ton of cigarettes could easily land you in prison, whereas smuggling tons of cocaine often went unnoticed. After seizing control of Medellin, everyone feared his influence. Instead of being just a criminal, he began establishing the concept of the cartel as a tightly knit family. In May 1976, he was arrested in Ecuador with 18 kilograms of coca paste. He tried to bribe the investigators, but initially failed. It was then that the iconic photo was taken, Escobar smiling behind his booking placard. That smile was a warning. As soon as he was released due to lack of evidence, he ordered the assassination of the two officers who arrested him. He then established the infamous law of Colombia, plata o plomo, silver or lead. You either take the bribe or you take a bullet. Escobar, in collaboration with his partners Ochoa and Gonzalo Rodriguez, founded the Medellín Cartel, which established absolute control over the global market. By 1982, cocaine profits had surpassed those of Colombia's coffee trade. The cartel's dominance peaked as it seized 90% of the cocaine trade within the United States and 80% of the global market. He established his primary headquarters at the vast Hacienda Nápoles, an estate spanning 20 square kilometers that featured advanced laboratories, a private airport, and even its own zoo. To expand his logistical empire, Escobar purchased most of the land on Norman's Cay in the Bahamas, transforming it into a strategic international hub for shipping and distributing drugs via planes and ships to every corner of the globe. Escobar's ambitions did not stop at wealth. They transformed into an all-out war against the state. On the 27th of November, 1989, he committed one of his most heinous crimes by bombing an Avianca Boeing 727, aiming to assassinate the presidential candidate Cesar Gaviria, who supported extradition laws to the United States. 110 innocent people were killed, and ironically, Gaviria was not even on the flight. Meanwhile, the government succeeded in eliminating José Rodríguez Gacha, known as the Mexican, one of the cartel's co-founders, which ignited a fire of vengeance in Escobar's heart against both the people and the military. The 20th of June 1991 was the date Escobar decided to surrender to the Colombian authorities voluntarily in exchange for not being extradited to America. He had conditions based on the definition of prison. Isn't prison the deprivation of a person's liberty? Fine, I will build my own prison. You just guard the perimeter because my life is threatened, and if I enter any other prison, I will be killed inside. Here, Pablo Escobar built his personal prison, La Catedral. The prison was built on land chosen by Escobar himself, an area of 30,000 square meters on a mountain slope above a valley, 7,000 feet above sea level, almost at the level of the clouds. Consequently, the guards had a clear view from above of any approaching threat. The area was characterized by fog in the evening and at dawn, which made any surprise air raid on the site extremely difficult. At the same time, escaping from this prison would be very easy if Pablo Escobar wanted to do so without anyone noticing. Additionally, the surrounding forests would help him hide anywhere. But when an emperor like this is imprisoned, whether voluntarily or not, every newspaper headline screams that Pablo Escobar has been jailed. The men working under him and members of the cartel began taking control of large parts of the trade for themselves. Escobar, of course, knew this because he wasn't disconnected from the family. He lived inside his kingdom, the prison, but was still connected to the outside world. Escobar escaping this way was a huge embarrassment for Colombia. The president of Colombia himself appeared on television almost every day to justify the escape. All the American media was talking about Pablo Escobar's escape from prison and how it was considered a scandal. At the same time, America was approaching presidential elections. George Bush Sr. was running for re-election, and to win over the American people, he said he would bring the world's biggest drug dealer to America and hand him over. Indeed, Bush became president and issued an official statement saying he would send American forces from every agency to eliminate Pablo Escobar. Count them with me: Delta Force, U.S. Intelligence, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, the FBI, the U.S. Air Force, and the CIA. All of these gathered together and went to Colombia to eliminate just one person: Pablo Escobar. In response to George Bush's statement, Pablo Escobar sent a fax to the U.S. Embassy in Colombia. I will tell you exactly what he said. We, the opponents of extradition, declare that if anything happens to Mr. Pablo Escobar, we will hold President Gaviria responsible, and we will repeat attacks across the country. We will target the U.S. Embassy in the country, as we will plant the largest amount of explosives ever. We hereby declare that the blame for all this chaos lies with President Gaviria, and if Pablo Escobar or anyone else is killed, we will launch our attacks immediately throughout the country. Thank you very much. Here, George Bush offered a $2 million reward for anyone providing any information on Escobar, and the U.S. Embassy in Colombia offered $200,000 for information. All the teams America sent continued their work as usual, also cooperating with the unit I told you about, which consisted of 500 soldiers. But here, Escobar faced a disaster. He had one last card hidden in his pocket that he hadn't played yet: the assassination of state security and Colombian intelligence officers. Their home addresses and workplaces were supposed to be state secrets. However, Pablo Escobar killed 65 police officers in their homes, or while they were on their way to work. This gives you a glimpse into the kind of information Pablo Escobar possessed. The hit and run between the two sides began again. Throughout all of this, no one knew where Pablo Escobar was. So, the Colombian security agencies, along with the American ones, began using the most important card for any gangster: the family. This gives you a glimpse into the kind of information Pablo Escobar possessed. The hit and run between the two sides began again. Throughout all of this, no one knew where Pablo Escobar was. So, the Colombian security agencies, along with the American ones, began using the most important card for any gangster: the family. The situation was very bad for Escobar. The world was closing in on him from every direction. Almost all members of his organization were either arrested or killed. Even his family, whom he might have fought for, were largely no longer there. Escobar went mad. He felt lonely. He started doing things he knew would make it easy for the intelligence agencies to find his location, such as talking on the phone with his mother for a long time to check on her, or driving around in an ordinary car with only one guard. In a city crawling with intelligence agencies, he was in an unfortified house hidden, but with only one security guard and his cook. Until we reached the day of the 2nd of December, 1993, when Pablo Escobar's location was discovered. His brother Roberto says in his book, when the police were storming the house on the ground floor, Escobar sent Lemon to check on the matter, but he was killed then. Escobar went up to the roof and discovered he was surrounded on all sides. He had vowed to himself never to surrender or allow them to kill him, So he shot himself in the head to deprive the government of their claim that they killed the Escobar. This is the version his brother told about how Escobar was killed. But the government had a different story, that they were the ones who killed Escobar. He took 3 bullets, one in his back, one in his leg, and one in his ear. But Roberto insists to this day that the one in the ear was the suicide shot from his brother Pablo. Regardless, Pablo Escobar's life ended. After Escobar died, the American media celebrated the news extraordinarily. The Colombian and American governments celebrated the news. But something very strange happened in the city of Medellin, where he lived. All the city's residents came out for his funeral. 25,000 people came out to bid farewell to Pablo Escobar, with deep sadness in their eyes over the death of this man. The Robin Hood image that Pablo Escobar had drawn in their minds remained until he was killed, and it still remains. And here ends the story of the most dangerous drug lord history has ever known. A story proving that when wealth and influence are managed with blood, their end is inevitable, no matter how much time passes and no matter how fortified the castle is. If you've made it this far with me and enjoyed the episode, don't forget to support us by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and turning on the notification bell so you can catch every new episode as soon as it drops. And of course, I'm waiting to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did Pablo Escobar really commit suicide, or was it the army that killed him? See you in the next episode. Peace out.